on chapter 3, where we talk about codes and standards. A lot of folks have difficulty understanding between a code and a standard. So we're gonna kill that right now. A code basically is lack of a better way to put it. A code is a set of rules, regulations that's been enacted by law. So basically, a code is the law. Uh, the codes uh, considerably there's a lot of them out there, depending on the jurisdictions. And codes typically address single subject matters. For instance, a lot of places in Texas they have fireworks codes. They can't sell fireworks year round. So when they do, they have to meet those codes. Uh, Mechanical codes, electrical codes. Everybody has to follow those when they're building. Fire codes, fire and uh, the codes are basically the laws once they're enacted. Okay. Um, other things, codes can run the gambit too of what they can and can't accommodate. Uh, for instance, most places a code is a misdemeanor, ticketable offense, right? You can do that. Uh, in Texas counties, though, that have a fire code, the county has to have a state approval for a fire code. So once they get that approval, that makes it, instead of a Class C ticketable offense, they can actually be arrested on a Class B misdemeanor and go to jail for breaking fire codes after they've been warned, that kind of thing. So it's a little different depending on where you're at. Now, there's different kinds of codes. There's building codes, which basically it's adopted again by the counties, by the cities, just other government bodies to regulate the construction, like and renovation and even maintenance of buildings, depending on the occupancy classification, what it might be. There's things called model codes too. A model code is developed through a set of standards, like it's a standards making organization. Like for instance, most places use the International Code Council. International Code Council they write model codes for building codes, electrical codes, mechanical codes, fire codes. And if that is adopted as written by the political entity that you work at or work in, then that becomes law as a code. Everybody follow me so far?
Mhm.
Okay, so when we look at that, with that you have regulations too. Regulations, they're directives or rules, like from administrative points, that have authorization to issue and enforce them, like codes, that kind of stuff. So regulations are also the same as codes. You have federal regulations, you have local regulations. There's a lot of different things out there. Now, an ordinance is a local or municipal law, and what that does, it puts the force, it makes these codes become statutes. And what that means is the authority having jurisdiction can use different types of enforcement to get these things taken care of, from like I say, issuing tickets to shutting down businesses to arresting would be code violators, whatever it might be, in your neck of the woods there. Now, when we talk about ordinance, we also have to talk about laws. Laws are basically rules of conduct that are adopted and enforced by the authority having jurisdiction. Uh, Basically, it's a kind of a guide, as it were, to society's actions. We know sometimes some tend to want to ignore laws. Some tend to just want to go straight up and down. That's the law. However, we have to think about that when we're doing laws. You have legislative laws, you have administrative laws, and you have uh, judiciary laws. Uh, there's administrative laws like copyright laws, judiciary laws. Uh, Judiciary laws are rulings by that come through legislature, through Supreme Courts, that kind of stuff. And then you have what we look at is ordinance and statutes. We look at that. So when we talk about laws, what we're talking mainly about is ordinances and local statutes or state statutes, whatever they might be. Now, when we come into this kind of thing, we have different codes. Now, remember, a code, if it is adopted, is the law. There's prescriptive codes and there's performance codes. A prescriptive code, basically, it's black and white. There's specific requirements that has to be met, and basically that's it. Bread and butter, prescriptive code. This is what it says. This is what you have to do. Now, most cities and most legislative areas can amend these prescriptive codes to the needs that they want. And I'll give you, for instance, in the 2018 fire code, there's a requirement that all structures, including single-family dwellings, that kind of thing, must put in sprinkler systems. Well, I can tell you, due to cost, due to myth and rumors, a lot of those codes get deleted by amendment. So we have to think about that when we're looking at codes. There's some places too that can't really, like where we're at in Harris County, we're more prescriptive than anything else. Of course, the government can change a little bit of it, but once it's written and in that book, that's pretty much what you have to follow. So it's a little more, I guess, biting is a way to do it. Then there's things called performance codes. The performance code, basically, it states that if it meets the fire and life safety objectives in the prescriptive code, if it meets that or exceeds that, and they can show you that it meets or exceeds it, then a performance code is available. What that means is, in a lot of cases, it might have to go to a board of appeals. They might have to show you details on how it works and that it does meet the code and those sort of things. So prescriptive is written out. It's there. You have to do it that way. Performance codes, if you can show a better way or something to meet the same prescriptive code, then you have a performance code. It's just done a different way. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So when we talk about codes too, I want to touch first on the types of codes. You have the International Fire Code, which is what 90% of the country goes on. I know here in Harris County, since I've been here, we've been through several code changes, but they all have to do with the International Fire Code. We've got a 2006 International Fire Code. We have a 2009 International Fire Code, 2012, 2015, and 18. And they come out about every 3 years. It's a code that's basically it provides safety regulations for life safety, structural regulations, fire protection issues that go on throughout the building. And basically, the International Fire Code and the National Fire Electric Code, what they do is they mend together. Part of the different codes are included in the fire code. Let me tell you how that works. The International Fire Code or Building Code, what it does is the fire, life safety, that kind of stuff. Where the fire code strictly covers fire and life safety. Now the building code will say with life safety, they might have to put fire-rated sheetrock somewhere. They might have to put fire-rated plywood on this building. So they meld together a little bit. And the same thing goes with the National Electric Code. NFPA 70 is the same as the National Electric Code. So as an inspector, you can go in there. I don't know a lot about electricity except for when you flip the switch up, most of the time the lights come on. But the whole idea that I have is if I think something looks bad or doesn't look right, I get somebody in there that can show me what it is. NFPA 70 and the National Fire, or and the fire is in it references the National Fire Code or the National Electric Code under NFPA 70. You'll find that a lot of times it'll even, the fire code, it'll even mention things like mechanical code, because in the fire code it refers to the mechanical code where you have gas-laden vapor or gas, say a table, a food warming table might require to have an exhaust system under the mechanical code, but not have a fire suppression under the fire code. Well, the fire code will reference back to the mechanical code to get that, so you have the standard that's there, and then they have to follow that through the fire code. So does everybody understand what I'm saying? They kind of mesh together in a lot of places, and the fire code will send you to the electrical code. It'll send you to the mechanical code. It'll send you to the electrical code. It'll send you to all these different codes. Even the plumbing code it'll send you to on sprinkler systems where they install pipes and that kind of stuff. So you'll end up with a lot of that. So when we talk about codes, we have to talk about standards. Now, standard, NFPA, National Fire Protection Association, is a standard unless it is adopted through a code. Does everybody understand that? The difference between a code and a standard. Okay, people get those mixed up. A standard is basically a set of principles, protocols, procedures, that kind of thing. It explains how to do something, and it gives a minimum standards to be followed. It basically it adheres to the things that are legally enforceable, but until the code or the regulation is adopted, it is still a standard. Okay, it's a suggestion. It's one that people should follow. And part of the educational objective, it describes the minimal level of performance that a learner has to meet in accomplishing a performance behavior. For instance, in this class, we have to follow the NFPA standard 1031 for plans examiner. So we cover everything that's covered under NFPA 1031, and the state has adopted that as code. Everybody with me on that? So therefore it has to be done. So the difference between a code and a standard are different, because standard is not law, but code is law. And then there's national codes too. In U.S. Since '91, we have the American with Disabilities Act, and that American with Disabilities Act began in 1990. It's basically the federal statute that it removes barriers, physical or otherwise, that limit access to individuals with disabilities. The fire codes do not normally regulate the ADA, not normally. However, the fire code does follow a lot of the same standards. It's written into the fire codes. So therefore, the American with Disabilities Act a lot of times is held within that fire code. Okay, so let me think if there's anything else I want to go over. Chapter 3. Are there any questions about what we've gone over so far? Difference between laws, ordinances. Code amendments, we like I say that they can, the political entities for the most part can change these codes in any which way they want. I know in the city of Houston, that's Harris County and the city of Houston's the size of the state of New Hampshire. Well, you look in their amendments, they've got a whole book of amendments this thick. It's nuts sometimes to see what's there. But the whole idea is to get things to what locally needs to be met. There's when we look at the different specialized codes, though, remember the IFC, International Fire Code, references things like, it might reference some things in the American Disabilities Act. It references the plumbing code, the mechanical code. It even references the environmental code, because in areas where it's prone to freezing, they're the ones that say, well, what type of fire hydrants you might have. We have dry barrel fire hydrants here because it freezes occasionally. You go down to Southern California or South Texas where it doesn't freeze, they might have wet barrel fire hydrants. So those kind of things, environmental type and plumbing codes make that. You might have energy conservation codes that deal with things like that we have to deal with in the fire code, like solar panels, that kind of thing. Those are things that we have to deal with in the fire code. Elevator codes, electrical codes, all those things are specialized codes that might be within the fire code. The National Electric Code, and when we look at plans and reviewing these things, we have to think that what do we look for? Well, when you look in things like we have here in Harris County, a lot of places do, because they do so many inspections and so many plan reviews. And when I say so many, the inspections division here in Harris County, just Harris County alone, not including the city of Houston, does about 14,000 inspections a year. That's crazy, I know, but the whole idea is they have like check sheets they go through and add to or whatever they might need. And there's samples of check sheets in your book that you might want to look at insofar as things that you look for in doing your plan reviews. We covered standards, what they are, and we covered basically everything in chapter 3. Are there any questions that you guys have about the difference between code and standards and that such thing?
No, sir.
Okay, so the next thing we're going to go over is chapter 4. Now, chapter 4 is basically, we're going to cover plan sets and what they are. Plan sets, basically, we use the plan sets, the different ones, for different things, and we'll cover them. First off, we're going to talk about site plans. I'm going to show you a couple of things after this in chapter 5 on these plans that are up here, and we'll look at them. A site plan, basically, are you guys hearing me okay? Because my computer's saying that we're not getting a good connection. So you guys hear us?
I hear you fine, sir.
Okay, then I'm not going to worry about it, because they make stuff up sometimes. Site plans are basically, they give you what is a plot plan, civil drawings, plat plans. What they do is basically they give you information on contours, on grades, how the land is sloped, and they're used the things, site plan, plot plan, civil drawings, plat plans. All these are the same thing. Okay. Some like to say it differently. I know the ones that you guys have with this Canterbury, they call them civil plans. But they can even have what are called contour lines, which gives you the grade, what levels of slope they have on them, and that sort of thing. They give you demolition drawings. All these things are plan sets. On these plan sets, though, you'll find common architectural abbreviations. You'll find uh, occupancy delays. You'll find bulkheads. You'll find fire alarm control panels. You'll find all these different things. All this stuff I'm talking about is in your book. In your book. The thing is, sorry, my daughter Brooke sent me a message and it stuck in my head. The things that you find on these things, on these different plans, though, is you'll find common architectural symbols. You might find fire hydrants, but you have to look at the legend on these things, or it's called a summary, basically, and I'll go over that here in a minute. But it'll tell you the building lines, what they look at, what the power poles look like, what it tells you the different symbols that they look on there. It'll even tell you doors. It'll give you swing of the doors. It'll give you fire extinguishers, where they go, gas lines, utility meters, all those kind of things. Other things that you might see, you'll see your sprinkler control panels. You'll see fire department connections. You'll see rated firewalls. You'll see those kind of things on the safety symbols too. So when you look at them, you have to look at the safety analysis, is what it's called, or the safety analysis is basically the legend. What is there? When you look at different drawings, though, there should be a whole legend on the front that tells you the type of construction. It tells you the contour lines. It'll tell you the occupancy type. It'll tell you a lot of things on the front. I'm gonna point that out to you. You won't be able to see it a lot on these drawings because we can't get close enough to them. However, I'm going to show you where they are and look at yours and that sort of thing. On these you'll also see electrical symbols on electrical drawings, and it'll tell you like outlet boxes. It'll tell you different poles, what kind of switches on them. It'll give you if there's exit signs required, emergency lighting. All these things are going to also be on your electrical signs too. It'll even give you fixtures. It'll give you time switches if they're in. It'll give you drop cords, any number of things. Hell, it'll even give you fluorescent light fixtures if that's what you're looking for. So you have a lot of different things on there. It'll tell you where outlets are. If you have generators, it'll tell you what size generators they are. Even in hospitals, it'll give you like call devices, nurses' call devices, paging systems, all kinds of things. And then also other symbols you'll see on there are HVAC and ductwork symbols. You'll see like exposed radiators, ductwork, the size of them, exhaust returns. All these things are what you're going to find on each drawing. And I'll show you a couple of those with contour lines and stuff like that. But you'll find plumbing signals, pipe usage, what size pipes. All these things are going to be on your drawings. By the end of this class, you'll be able to recognize some of them, but the whole idea is where to find them on your drawings when you're looking at a plan, that kind of thing. Basically, the plot plan or the civil drawing is the overall project layout, and it includes things like building areas. Sometimes they're called footprints, that kind of stuff. Locations, building setbacks, driveways. Why are these things important to us? Because we have to make sure that they're making the streets wide enough, the driveways wide enough for fire apparatus. Are there fences blocking the fire hydrants? Are the fire hydrants there? Are the fire department connections in the right place? And landscaping, is it blocking fire hydrants or access? And security gates. You also see these contour lines, which are wavy type lines. I'll show you those in a minute. But what they do is tell you the slope. Well, if a big fire truck can't get in on a slope greater than 12 degrees because it'll drag. So you have to kind of look at those kind of things too. Even some of your fire protection plans might have some of these, but usually fire protection plans are going to be a separate plan altogether. So everybody with me so far on this? Because I've said a lot of stuff so far. Okay, it's all Greek to me. So when we're talking about plans, we have to think about the type of plans that we're using. Now it's kind of weird because in the U.S. they tell us that the system, international system, the metric system, it's the preferred construction on plans. When they measure it, they prefer it be in metrics. However, I have yet to see, even though it's preferred, I have yet to see it on a set of plans that comes in to our office or anything that I've seen. So we usually use, we're the only ones that use it, but you use the feet and inches rather than the meters and centimeters, that kind of thing. However, the preferred keyword there, preferred, is the SI or the can't even think what it's called, or the international system of units. Okay. Now, when you look at plans, you're going to see construction plans, and what they are what the construction plans are kind of, in a lot of cases, architectural plans, and and it tells how a building and all the components are that they come together, how they work together, and it serves basically to convey information who need it for a particular construction of a building. It might the construction plan might have anything from in-floor heaters to any number of type of exterior or interior type of building, or any type of drawing. Sometimes they're called blueprints, construction drawings, plan sets. All these are also called some of them, the architectural drawings, civil drawings. All these are part of the construction plan. Okay, and basically that's the overall thing: architectural drawing or construction plans. In the U.S., there's two types of things that they use. You have two types of scales that they use to measure out these. They have architect scales and engineering scales. And basically, architect scale uses fractions of inches, really, as an engineer scale is based on increments of 10. You see more architect scales than you do the engineer scales, and you'll find that, for instance, the architect scale might be 1 inch equals say 1 foot, where an engineer scale 1 inch might equal 10 feet. That's the difference you're going to see in those. So a half inch might equal 1 foot, where 1 inch might equal 20 feet. So you have to kind of look at the scales when you're doing your plans review too, to be able to see that you're looking at it in the right realm. Is it our engineering scale or is it an architect scale? And is it drawn, what scale it's drawn to? So it's important to understand that. Exit travel distance might need to be verified. The reason why we know it is because we have to verify exit travel distances, how wide exits are on the drawings and that kind of thing. And basically, we as plans examiners would use that architect scale to measure point A to point B to verify travel distances, to verify room size, to verify exit or egress, how far it is. So when we look at the typical code analysis, that's what we look at. That's what gives us the it's usually on the title page. And if you look up here behind me, there's a title page on the wall back there. We're going to go over it here in a few minutes. But what these do is usually give us a occupancy classification. It'll tell us what it is. It should. it usually tells us it's a construction classification. Construction classification is what type of construction it is. Okay, is it type 2? Is it type 1? Is it type 4? Whatever it might be. So we have to understand what that is and what it might be. And then it gives us a building area. It tells us how big that building is. Is it 110,000 square feet? Does it have mechanical mezzanine on it? How big is that? It'll tell us that kind of thing. How many square feet, how many square meters, whatever it might be. Then it tells you if there's any limits to it, because if it's sprinklered, there might not be limitations, there might be limitations, that kind of stuff. And it should tell you how high that building is. I can tell you on this drawing that we have up here, the Canterbury drawings do not have everything on them that they're supposed to have. That's us as future plans examiners to find those. So that's why we have to look at these and understand what we're looking at. It usually will give you the occupant load, how many square feet per person, and basically it'll tell you how many people can be in that building. It might or might not be on there. Now your floor plan, it shows the locations and construction elements of special rooms, like that are used for like emergency generators, fire command panels, alarm panels, fire pumps, hazardous materials, if there's any in there. And you might even see separate fire protection plans, separate generator plans, separate alarm control units plans, control areas, that kind of thing. Because these are specialized areas, they might not be on the general floor plan, the specific plan. They might just have fire alarm control room, and then you have to find the fire alarm control room plans. So the floor plans might tell you where it's supposed to be, but it might not have the specifics on it. You have fire alarm and electrical drawings, that system drawing. If you have a fire alarm system, the fire alarm wiring usually is included on a separate sheet of paper with the electrical drawings, because different people do those. You have electrical engineers that draw the electrical drawings, but you might have a fire protection engineer or even a fire protection contractor that draws the fire alarm. And the reason being is two things. One might be low voltage where the other one's high voltage, and vice versa. And basically in the bidder design process, that's where you're going to get the subcontractors that draw the fire alarm drawings and draw the sprinkler drawings and that kind of things. But the electrical drawings have things like equipment schedules, what they have to use, the schematic drawings, and the down to what size electrical wire to use and that kind of thing. And we're going to go, we won't go over that in this class because electrical drawings are not included in this class, but they are there. When you look in your book, you can get drawings of electrical plans, and we'll go over that on a different date. And we'll go over fire sprinkler drawings at another date. When we look at the different types of drawings, we have to think too that there's cut sheets. Cut sheet basically is a manufacturer or a drawing of something that's put inside. I have a cut sheet that I'm going to show you today. Not actually a cut sheet, it's a detail sheet, and I'll show that you can actually see the cut sheet on your. I think it's on your class.
Syllabus.
No, it's on, yeah, no, it's on the learning management system there. But the cut sheets will show you things like butterfly valves, how they're made, how they're supposed to be installed, all these different things. And what's nice about these is they give you specifics on how big it's supposed to be, how they're supposed to be installed. And I'll give you, for instance, if somebody puts in a sprinkler system and does not put thrust block, or they have to put what is underground, they have to put thrust blocks. Well, the cut sheet will tell me how these thrust blocks are to be made and where they're supposed to be. because I want to make sure that they're put in correctly in the civil drawings, because of the fact that if they use the sprinkler systems or the hydrants and they get too much kickback on them, they could break the pipes. So therefore, we want to make sure they're done correctly. And in some things, you might have specifications like construction documents, and I'll show you that here too. But you might have things like safety data sheets or material safety data sheets. And what they are is, in the cut sheet, they will tell you what they have. And I gave you for instance, last week, where they had a exorbitant amount of H2S, or hydrogen sulfide, in one room, and I required in the code. And the only reason I knew that was because I looked at the SDS sheet that says that these batteries off gas hydrogen sulfide. So when I saw that and got all the data together, I saw that they're going to have to put a automatic air evacuation system in that room. You see what I'm saying? That's what these specification, like SDS sheets, are for. Let's see. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Let's see. There's a few of them in your book. Be sure and look at those too. So, any questions about what we've gone over on chapter 4 so far? Let's see if there's anything else I want to talk to you about on chapter 4. And my computer's slow. Okay, but we've gone over a lot of these things, and I'm throwing a lot of stuff out at you today because there's so much stuff to throw at you. What we'll do is go over chapter 5 now. Any questions about 4 at all? Because I don't want to spend too much time on these lectures, because I want to go over these plans with you, which won't take a whole lot of time, but it'll kind of give you a little bit of a hands-on type thing, the best we can do in this. So when we talk about chapter 5, we're getting specific now to different types of plans. We have things like plot plans, site plans, utility plans, landscape plans. All these things are part of the site plan, or the civil plans, as it were. It's the building footprint, the ground area, the shape. All these things are covered by that site or the plot civil plans. The site plan, basically, it's a drawing that basically gives us the proposed construction in relation to existing conditions. If there's another building there, if there's a proposed building there, that kind of thing. And it includes the survey information that I told you that was on the front. I'm going to have to get some more tape for that one. But on the cover sheet, that kind of stuff. And it gives you the contours and the grades, that kind of stuff, how big it is. Generally, it's the first sheet on there, the site plan is. And basically what it does is it gives you the information you need. It should tell you that the height of the building at its highest point. It should give you basically an overall view of the vertical sides of the structure, that kind of thing. Now, in a lot of cases, we're not going to cover that today, but it also includes elevation plans. Elevation plans are separate in this, and we'll cover that in a later chapter. On a site plan, or they give the slope on contour lines. The elevation is basically shows you what that building should look like, and it gives you the grades and all that good stuff. Your contour lines are squiggly little lines. They kind of go like this across, and basically they tell you like interior walls. They might tell you sides of the structure, what kind of grade they're at, that kind of thing. They can also tell you benchmarks. They can tell you where things start and where things end. Uh, a benchmark on a site, and when we find them, is basically a permanently marked, like a stake driven into the ground or something, that gives us the exact elevation of a place. It's used by, like, because I have to hang that back up, aren't I? But it gives us site plans, maps. They illustrate the slope of the ground. They tell us what the benchmarks tell us what that grade is. The grade basically is the natural, altered ground level. It's a surface level of pavement. Any kind of stable earth is the grade level, that kind of thing. The site plan, basically, when you look in your book, there's site plans of, like, a building that shows restricted access because of, like, railroad tracks and that kind of stuff. All that is in the civil plans, and there are supposed to be ways to get through that and around it in your civil plans. In your civil plans, it also shows easements. Easements. Easements are basically a right of privilege, like one party, to use the property or another specific limited purpose area, and it's basically a law of real estate. For instance, your house out in the front of your house, like in mine, the easement where they can put utility lines, that sort of thing, mine is from the sidewalk to the curb. Yeah, it's still my land, but they have the right to put utility lines on it, to put anything on it, and I can't build anything permanent on there. For instance, in the back, from my fence 6 feet back towards my house is an easement. Through there, they run electrical lines, cable lines, all that stuff. And my swimming pool goes up to the very edge of that easement. I couldn't move it any further back, even if I wanted to, because that's part of the easement. And a pool is a permanent structure if it's put in the ground. So it applies to a bunch of different circumstances, but the whole idea is it's a right of entry for utilities and the like, that kind of stuff. We talked about the elevation, the height at the above sea level, basically, and the vertical views, and the contour lines that collect equal points of elevation on a site plan map, and I'm going to show you that too. The contour lines, the benchmarks, we talked about that, and the grade. And a lot of times you're going to get in on utility plans drawings, you're going to get specialized type of plot plans that give you sewer, water, gas, electrical, all that's included in the plans. Basically, a manhole is a hole basically that a person can go through to gain access to underground structures. All these things are included on the civil plans. The civil plans a lot of times still give you the fire flows, which is the amount of water that's available for firefighting in an area. It's calculated it's calculated as well as the water consumption in that area. If there's a lot of water used in that area, it's calculated along with that, and what you have left over is your residual pressure. As a plans examiner, you might have to look at the plans to see that there's enough water. It's measured in pounds per square inch, but enough water for firefighting operations. And like the minimum there basically is 20 pounds per square inch in that hydrant pressure. Now, if it's there, I can tell you that's usually not enough. However, that's what's required under the American Water Works Association in their pamphlets. NFPA standards basically require fire flows from NFPA 13, which is the standard for sprinkler systems. Also, you have different fire flows for NFPA 14, which is the installation of standpipes, and basically NFPA 1142 also gives you water supplies for suburban and rural firefighting too. So depending on where you're looking at these plans for, all these things might have different type of standards that are out there. And if they were adopted by the code, then they have to do these things. I'll show you these on the civil drawings here in a few minutes. But in these civil drawings, you're going to find the water mains, the hydrants, the isolation valves, all these different kind of things. Your fire hydrants, basically, we talked a bit about basically it's everybody knows what a fire hydrant is, but a fire hydrant basically, a lot of places call them outlet valves. They call them a lot of flushing valves. If you're not in the fire business, that's what the water companies call them, flushing valves. They're all known as hydrants. Okay, they're all the same thing. Your wet barrel hydrant basically has water all the way up to the discharge. You only see these on TV when people run over them and all the water comes out. That's a wet barrel hydrant. If you run over one down here in Houston, unless it's left on, you're not going to get that. If you run up in Virginia, it freezes up there. You're not going to find wet barrel hydrants because of the fact it freezes occasionally. So the dry barrel hydrants, basically the operating valve, it's underground under the barrel, and basically there should be no water in the barrel, and basically you have to turn it on in order to get water to come out. In the wet barrel, basically it's there automatically once you open it up. So the dry barrel's not unless you turn it on. We talked about fire flow again, is the quantity of water available for firefighting in a particular area. It's calculated normal water consumption in that area, and basically how much water is needed to extinguish a fire in a timely manner. Okay. The landscape plan, we'll look at one of those. Basically, it's a scale drawing of a building lot that shows the building footprint and proposed plants, that kind of stuff. And what it is it'll show you driveways, parking areas, walkways, all that kind of thing, which make a difference in our plans. Okay. Do I have any questions about chapter 5 before I set this stuff back up? I'm going to take about a 5-minute break and get a different type of tape and hang these things up for you, and then we'll get started on that. Any questions before on chapter 5? And you'll see it come together when we look at some of these plans. Okay, we'll go ahead and get started on this. What I want to show you first, this is the basically design plan. This is the front page. Remember we talked about a summary analysis, that kind of thing.
Yes,
You're
sir.
gonna most drawings, you're gonna find your summary analysis on this side over here. When you look at this is supposed to be your completed project right here. It's just it's an artist's description, depiction is what it is. When you look at these over here, in this area right here, you will find in most cases like a street plan, where it is on the streets, that kind of thing. It gives you blocks and that sort of thing, and it gives you legal descriptions a lot of times of what you're looking at. It might give you a legal description is like plot 46, area D, or whatever it might be, but that's where you'll find that. Now when you look up at the top up here, it's going to give you the information that you're looking for. The first thing up here, and you can't really read it, but the first thing you're going to do here, it's going to tell you what it is. Okay, at the very top. If you guys have these, follow along. I'm pointing them out and telling you what they are. That way you can look at them later and see what they are and follow along in the learning management system with this. At the very top, what this does right up here is basically it tells us that this is a community-based residential facility. So what that tells me is it's probably a assisted living center or an adult apartment complex, senior living center, something like that. Okay, so you kind of got to be able to decipher what the differences is. Now, when you look out here at the second part, what this says is the construction classification. Now, the construction classification, this here, it says wood frame protected. It should have on there what it is. Wood frame protected. Wood frame protected is going to be a what? Class, a type 2 or 3, depending on which classification you're using. Usually a type 3 construction. Now this type of construction, when we look at it further down, we're gonna see that right here in this area, it tells us occupancy class C. Well, that tells me that the people that drew this were not in the United States. They were probably in Canada, because class C is a Canadian depiction. So we have to go back and make them change it so we understand it. Is it class C? Okay, well, in the international, or in the US, it's going to be a residential, more than likely an R3, residential 3 occupancy. Everybody following me so far?
Yes, sir.
Remember I told you they're going to do some things wrong on here? That's 2 things that we found right away. And usually I can do this with people sitting here, so this is a new way to do it. Okay, so as we look down further, we find in this area, everybody see that area? It's going to tell you basically the architects that drew it. It's going to tell you the just different things about it. Now, when we move further down in this area, it will also tell you things like the how many. See right here, it tells us that the required construction, it says type 2. Type 2 is limited combustible. Okay, that means they have to be very limited combustible. Well, they made a change here. If you look over here, it says that they were able to change it to a type 3 combustible. Type 3 is ordinary construction. They were able to do that because they added a sprinkler system to the entire building. It's hard to believe it says all that right there, isn't it? But yeah, that's what it says all right in here. Now, when you look over here, a little bit under that, it's going to tell you how big the building is, how many square feet it is. It's good. Well, actually, that's up here. How many square feet it is, and it's also going to tell you the occupancy class again. That's everything right there. And it should have an index right here on what pages are what. For instance, this will tell us right here when we look at it, the different pages. C1 is the drainage plan, the site plan, parking. All these different things are part of the different types of plans that we see. So we're going to go with this now, and I'm going to show you a couple of different civil plans. Okay. Let me set this one up over here. We're going to show you some civil plans.
Norm,
Yes.
that page that you have on the wall at the very bottom right-hand corner, does it tell you which page it is? Because I have my stack and I'm actually trying to find that specific title page. I don't.
You have this page here?
That's no. I was wondering. That's what I was wondering. Because I'm looking. I'm thumbing through the stack as I just broke it open from the plastic, and you know, you have your E, and you have your A. You know,
Right.
E1, P for plumbing, and they're all mixed in. All the A's are not together, all the P's are not together, all the E's are not together. So I'm just actually trying to find that title page itself. And this is anyone have any info or luck on where they found that huge stack, or if it's even in there?
Yeah, this is I got these plans from IFSTA, and basically I can't tell you if they are or not now.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay.
I found mine in the middle of the stack.
Yeah, I found mine. It took a little while. It wasn't obvious.
Okay, so what I'm gonna do?
Does it'll say title page on it or something in the corner?
No, it actually says Partners in Design on the front, and basically it on the it doesn't have anything on the front that says A1 or 2 or 3 or anything like that.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Well, keep searching. Continue.
Let's see. Can everybody see this one here? Or am I too close or too far?
I mean, I could see it, but there's no way in the world that you can
Make anything
read
out.
it. All I see is a white sheet of paper with lines and squares and all that. I'm sure that everyone else is agreeing with me. But
Well, if you can, try to follow along as much as you can, and I'm going to show you where some things are. Okay. Like I say, it's much better if you're here. Here, the title on this page is going to be down on all these pages. Should be down in the bottom when you're looking at bottom right-hand corner, down in this area. Okay.
Hey, Norm, I think the camera moved.
Oh, did it? It did.
Yeah, there we go.
Is that showing it now?
Yeah, probably need to go down and just look. There you go. A little bit more. About right there. Yeah, a little bit more.
How's that?
We got about 2/3 of the paper there.
Need to come down some more?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay.
That's it.
Thanks. Sorry about that. It's just that's the only way I can do it right now. When,
Yes,
when we're looking at it at this point, your title page is going to be down here. You can't make it out, but it says C1 on the bottom right-hand corner. Okay. When you're looking at that, you know you're looking at Civil 1. Now, Civil in here, you're going to find. See how all these are right along here. You're going to find streets. It's going to tell you how wide the streets are. It's going to tell you how wide the entrances are. And when you start looking at codes, the big difference is you have to be so many feet wide for a fire truck to get in. You have to be so many feet long for fire hoses to reach, that kind of stuff. That's where we come in. Now, when you look on the bottom of these down here, most of the time you're going to have a separate legend down there that's going to tell you what things mean, what a curb is, what a sidewalk is. And then it gives you kind of an overall topical of what the building should look like. Here, and this one, it even gives you proposed buildings over here that might be there and the like there. Oops, I bumped it. Did I do anything to it? Okay. So that's your first page of Civil. There's not a lot there, but what we have to look at as planners are things like how wide this road is. Does it go all the way around? Is there access to everything? All these things are going to make a difference when we're doing our plans review. in this case, there's even some contour lines. These right here are contour lines. What contour lines are wavy lines, okay? The wider they are, the less grade. The closer they are to each other is basically there's more grade. Everybody follow me on that?
Yes.
Okay. So the wider, the less grade, the closer together, the more the grade that they all are. And you'll find them along here on the roadways. You'll find them in the land along here, and you'll find them sometimes even in the drawings themselves here. Okay, and down here is going to tell you what the architectural numbers are. It'll tell you how wide or how many inches equals 1 foot, or how many whatever it might be. It's going to tell you down here on the bottom. Okay, so everybody understand what I'm talking about on page 1? Okay, so let's go to page 2, and it'll be a little easier because all I got to do is turn it over. And page 2 might be a little more clear. Everybody see page 2 there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now page 2 again, this is here. Over here, you're going to find on the right-hand side, you're going to find your what number it is, C2. Here, you're going to find things like future buildings, that kind of stuff on this particular plan. You look at your roadways again, you can find where they are. You can find how far your setbacks are from the roadways. You can find if you can get all the way around the property, and you can also find things like what is it? Trying to think of what else. There's a couple of notes down here that you'd want to look at, but it tells us basically from the top what this is supposed to look like and what we're looking for in our plans. This will help us here because it shows us that there's a driveway through here and how wide that is. And basically, when you get back to it, it says it's 25 feet wide. Okay, well, the code right now calls for 20 feet wide. So we know it's okay to do it there, down here. But when you get back over here, how far is it from here all the way over to here, right? So if it's more than 150 feet without another outlet, then there's a problem. The fire trucks have to get in there, be able to turn around and come back out. So we have to think about that too. In a lot of cases, 20 feet wide. Basically, in a lot of cases, there's no way for the fire trucks to get in and out of there. On this plan here, you should have some type of fire lanes, that kind of thing, which I don't see any on this particular one, but there should be fire lanes going around that too. So let's see, what else do we have on here? Tells us how wide our roadway is, 25 feet. And also, when we look at it, we have to be able to figure out, are we going to be able to get to all of this building if needed? So when we look down here at our notes, it says all traffic and passing areas to be asphalted, that kind of stuff. Well, when we talk about asphalting and looking at it, is it enough? It needs to be more specific. It should say to accommodate so many tons for fire apparatus, that kind of stuff. So they have to be a little more specific there on that sort of thing. So any questions about this one here?
No, sir.
Okay, moving on, we'll do another one. So we're going to move on to civil drawing 3, and I'm going to ask you again if you can see it. I'm going to put it in the same spot, but that never means anything to me because it's all in your perspective. Can you guys see this one?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this one you're going to get a little more detail, aren't you? When you look at this one, you look over here, there's a bunch of notes over here. But what you're looking at this one here, you're looking at specifics on your civil again. You've got these little drawings out here, which don't mean a lot. But when you look at here, it talks about porticoches. It talks about existing lines as far as telephone lines and them having to be relocated. It talks about some of the destructive, I don't want to call it destruction, but renovation that they're going to have to do too. So they talks about the streets along here, how they work. But along with that, you're going to get things in here, where the water service is going to go, where the telephone lines are going to go. How is that going to affect inlet and outlet of fire apparatus? That's why we look at these civil drawings, because those kind of lines can affect it. On here, you end up having things, how big your lot is. This even has fire. See this right here? These are fire hydrants right here. So therefore, this is where you're going to find your fire hydrants. You're going to find things that are important to the process of you doing your plans examination. This talks about future expansion, that there's going to be a library over here, that there's going to be another building over here. It talks about existing storm sewers. The big things you want to look at is when you come out. See, this one here is good because it shows you more detail that you have an inlet and an outlet. So unlike the other one, didn't show that near as much. Okay, so when we're looking at these, there's quite a few things that we're looking for in these civil drawings, and most of it is for the fire department access and emergency responder access. So any questions on this civil drawing? Okay, now there's two more I want to show you, and I'm going to show you a detail sheet. I want to show you a landscaping plan too, and why we use landscaping plans. Okay. Now this one here is a little different. Can you guys see that one?
Yeah, it's a little faint, but
So what's the lettering? What's the lettering for that? Would that be obviously an L or?
Yeah, actually it's an L. It's weird how they put it. They separated it from the civil, but it's actually part of the civil. But it has an L in it, so it's L1. Okay, and again, you're going to get dimensions. What's there? It'll tell you what types of plants are there, what they do to your landscape, what that landscape does. Basically, is it going to get in the way of your fire apparatus? Is it going to get in the way of your sprinkler systems? All of these different things is what you'll see when you look at these. So it's really it's not as important as a lot of them, but you want to be able to see that. Well, yeah, they're putting all these right here. How's that going to affect your fire hydrant? All these plants right here. You're going to put all these here. Is it going to block your fire hydrants? Is it going to block your PIV, your post indicator valves for the fire department to come in and see it? I can tell you, people don't like fire hydrants and don't like fire what do you call them? Fire department connections too much because they're ugly. But the whole idea is they try to cover them up with plants, with different things to make them more aesthetically pleasing. And we can't have that when we're reviewing these kind of drawings. And we'll give you, for instance, here, these trees along here, how are they going to affect the apparatus getting in and out? They're going to have to trim them, right? I live in a neighborhood that's full of trees, and I can tell you the city comes in about every 2 months and trims them so the fire trucks can get down there because it has like a canopy type thing. So these make a difference too, insofar as what you might find. And it tells you basically here what they are. It tells you that there's a fence right here, but it tells you all kinds of different things, what these plants are and what kind of landscape there is. So it's important to understand that we look at the landscape. It's not one that you want to take, you know, a lot of time on, but it's one that you want to look at and be able to decipher. As far as that goes, when we go back to the civil drawings, if we go to C4, C4 is more of a, and I did this afterwards because I wanted you guys to look at a couple of detailed drawings. Okay, C4. Everybody see that one?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
151, medic 15 for chest pain, 666, cures.
I'll put you on mute unless you have a question. Okay.
151, medic 15 for chest pain, 666, cures charge, circle.
There we go. So when we look at these detail sheets, you'll have over in this corner here, it says C4, but in this corner over here, it tells us basically construction notes and that kind of thing. That's mainly what these are. But they tell us specifically the curb frames, the grates, what are in there. It tells us specifically, it should tell us how many tons that it can hold, the specific sanitary, the manholes, what they're supposed to look like, and basically how they're supposed to be built. It tells you everything about all of these items. When you're looking over here on this side over here, it tells us how specifically these are, the hydrants are, the inlets, all these different things on the specific drawings. These are not the same as cut sheets. These are how things are built. Cut sheets are for specific items like the butterfly valve, how it's supposed to be installed. It tells us different things like how far apart things are supposed to be from each other. Well, the details sheets tell us how far apart, like sprinkler heads, are supposed to be from each other, how pipes are supposed to be hung. All these are part of the detail sheets. Okay. So that's a quick and easy way to go through these. I'm sorry you can't see them any better than you can. I've actually took and scanned every one of these sheets, and they don't look any better when they're scanned. So I'm sorry if they're not any better than that. But I wanted to show you the general areas where to find this information at. Do I have any questions about what we've gone over today? When you look at these, there's some exercises on the Canterbury plans when they come in too. Kind of look at them and see what's there and what's not there, what's missing and what's not missing. On these plans, remember on page 1 where it said it was required to have a sprinkler system throughout it? On these plans, you will not find a sprinkler system. That's part of the problem with these plans. When you go to say, well, not everything's there, that's part of the plan's process, is to find if they don't have it there. You'll find a riser, a fire riser. You'll find a standpipe. You'll even find a fire department connection, but you will not find a sprinkler system, which said it's supposed to have it up here on the front page. Okay. Any questions what we've gone over today?
Norm, I had a question. It may take a little bit, so I want to let everybody else do their thing. It was about doing a calculation.
Okay.
So I can wait.
Anybody have any questions so far?
No, sir.
Okay. So when you do your go ahead with your calculations question.
Okay. My note was on Let me find it. It was in the book. It was on page 54. Let me find the page in the book.
Okay.
Chapter 4. Measurements.
You say page 54?
My computer's running a little slow. I'm trying to click and get to the page.
So I'll share the screen with you guys. That way you can see it. Let's see. Nope, it's not 54. Let's go move on to 5.
Okay, it's on page 52.
Oh, okay. Let me go back to that.
52. You should have told me we was gonna be doing trigonometry.
It's not trigonometry. It's actually algebra. Okay, let's see. 52.
All right. So I do understand the the ratio. You got 1/8, can equal a foot, 1/4 scale, So I was trying to follow this ruler here
Okay.
and get that measurement of 7 foot 6 inches. That's where I got lost in trying to get that in the very first paragraph. Figure 4.5 illustrates one side of a typical architecture scale. So reading that, I don't know why my brain wasn't connecting it, but I was missing it for some reason.
Well, basically this, if you take a quarter inch will it depicts 7 feet. Okay? Does that make
Okay,
sense?
so we're starting with the far left where you see a Z, right? And you got a line, then you got your 0, and that's a quarter, right before the number 22.
Right.
All right?
Right.
Okay.
Let's see. So when you look at that a quarter inch, look on the right side. See where my cursor is right here? So there's 1 foot, 2 foot, 3 feet, 4 feet, 5 feet, 6 feet, 7 feet, and a half.
Okay.
Does that make sense? I'm sure that people have the same kind of question, but that's what we're figuring, your quarter inch. So again, you start here, there's your 1 foot,
Okay, 1. Okay.
2 foot mark, or
Yep.
3 feet,
Mm-hmm.
4 feet, 5 feet, 6 feet, 7 feet. Whoops, I didn't go far enough. I'm sorry. Here we are, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then we're going half of that, which is 7.5 right here.
Okay.
If I went further, it would be 8. Let me see if I can. Do you see my cursor? It's working?
Oh, yeah, I can see your cursor.
Okay. Does that make sense though now?
Yep. Yep.
Okay, it'd be the same way across. 1, 2, yeah, it'd be the same way going the other way too. So.
Yes, I was trying to understand it when they said read it from the left side, then read it from the right side.
Yeah, I don't. whoever wrote that. 6 feet. I guess they were going from this way to this way. But that's not a good, that wasn't good the way they put it in.
He said one scale will begin at 0 and read left to right. The other scale will begin at 0.
Yeah, it's not a really good way to put it, but when you calculate it out, just use your 1/4 inch things and don't really worry where it starts from, because they didn't start it from 0 either way.
Right.
So I could see how that could be confusing.
Yeah. Okay.
Does everybody understand what we're doing there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Any other questions? I appreciate that, Dave.
Yeah. Thanks for clearing that.
No problem. Does anybody else have any questions about anything? Because I'm here for you. All right. So with that, I don't really have anything else for today. If you guys don't have any questions or anything like that, here, I'll let you look at me. If you don't have any other questions or anything like that, if you do have questions, please send them to me. I answer emails pretty quickly. I don't answer phone calls too well. I've had a couple of people show me on some tests that where the interns had put the wrong answers, and I thought one of them I thought I'd cleared up, but I didn't. So I went back and fixed those. So if you find those, please let me know. I've gone through them all, but I miss them sometimes too. So, but I appreciate everybody being with us today. And if there's no questions, I'll go ahead and sign off.
All right. Appreciate you, Norm.
You bet. You guys take it easy.
Yes, sir. You too.
Have a good week.